Hey there, chart friends. Lamont here from Chart Guys, checking in on the electric vehicle sector and a couple of those battery names. If you can hear that snowblower in the background, I do apologize. We have a storm, a blizzard. I live in New York. This is the first nor'easter of the year. I think so. I can't tell. Time is just totally, totally beyond my reach at this point. All right, so checking in on our big dog Tesla monthly time frame. We are being mindful, right? We know there's not been any meaningful consolidation on the monthly time frame since this last low here at 70.10. So just keeping that in the back of our minds. And I believe, let's see here. Let me just make sure. Yes. So we are watching for the potential of a perfect 9 to set up, a TSLA 9 signal that is setting up on the monthly time frame. And if this candle were to print as a bearish reversal candle, that would be a pretty good sign that we are due for a little bit of consolidation. So what are we looking out for in that regard? For that to be a very convincing signal, the 9 candle should print as a bearish reversal candle. So the uglier the better for a bear, if you are a bear. That being said, it does have to close above this candle here to be a perfected 9. Okay, it just needs to close above 1, 2, 3. This candle's close in order to be a 9. But for it to be a perfected 9, it needs to close above 705.67. And I will say that the candle shape is not ideal. These monthly candles that are leading up to this current one, you can see the size of this 8 candle is very small, and there's an upper wick. You don't really want small candles to the upside because it sets you up for a liquidity break. Or rather, it sets price up for a liquidity break. So if you get a really like a bunch of small candles to the upside, then theoretically there will be stop losses under each one of those daily candles. And so if they get triggered, the range between each candle, because they're so small and limited, it makes it easier for there to be a situation of cascading stops where stops continue to trigger. All right, so just be mindful of the monthly time frame. Consolidation may be overdue. On the weekly time frame, we're still just scouting a weekly higher low with anything over 379.11 being one. So far, we are maintaining an inside bar. Bulls showed up to play defense today to defend last week's low of 780.10. And on the daily time frame, we are just watching for the potential to set a daily lower high now under 940. So again, bulls showed up to play defense today. After breaking this key support here of 803.62 with no follow through. And again, that being said, we would not be surprised with a lower high. And looking at how choppy this volume is, I would not be surprised if bulls can continue to play defense. I would not be surprised if we just chopped about between 800 and 880 for a bit, especially if the markets remain strong. So we have Amazon and Google earnings tomorrow, which of course they're the sector peers, right? They're Nasdaq sector peers, and so if we see bullish responses to that, then there's the potential for Tesla to remain relatively strong, just going sideways. So yeah, but that being said, if we were to see more downside, we're paying attention to the 700 level where the last meaningful volume was set. And then below that, we're looking at the 500 level, where again, there was this big old EQ here to put in a bunch of volume. So if we do see lower, if we do take out this daily low here of 780.10, then I'm going to be looking down here primarily for entries, okay? Long entries, I mean. All right, so we will check out the hourly time frame. And remember, we are watching this macro channel. There's one more thing. We're watching this macro. One moment here. Let me just find the best time frame. So let me turn off some things so that you can see it a bit more clearly. So we're just watching this channel, right? Let me hide this. You can see it. You can see it. All right, so we're watching this big macro channel. We're up against the resistance line right now. Not sure why that's like that. And we are now pulled back a bit from the resistance line. Now, typically when you test one side of the channel, you look for a median line test. And the median line test, depending on how much we can go sideways, right? Because the median line test will be lower the sooner we get there. If we go from here, the median line test is around 574. But if price can maintain this sideways action a little bit, then we can catch up and maybe just test this like 600 level or so to come down and tap this median line. So yeah, a lot of moving parts here on Tesla, but again, the primary zones of interest are where the volume is. So really, it's this 500 level that I am most interested in. 500s-ish. All right. So let's see here. Let's check the hourly time frame. And the hourly chart is kind of printing a bit of an inverse head and shoulders, right? If we reject from these highs here about 848, and then come back and pull back and set a higher low over, use this low here, 780.10, then we will open up the potential of this inverse head and shoulders, right? Kind of a cone head and shoulders because of how deep it is. Am I dating myself? Okay, so that's pretty much it. We're looking for tomorrow. Hourly higher lows will be on deck, and if we were looking for that hourly higher low, then I like it around here, and ideally we'll get 5-minute oversold, something like that. Okay. Looking for Tesla. Bulls must change this hourly trend to have us confident that that daily low is set and have us scouting for a daily lower high under all-time high resistance. NIO. On the monthly time frame, so very similar, right? Big rip up, and now finally starting to show a little bit signs of weakness, right? So, no monthly higher low since 211. Sweet Jesus. All right, and on the weekly time frame, we are looking for a weekly higher low. I'm just going to use this low here. Anything over 38.43 will be a weekly higher low. And of course, if we come down and test this weekly higher low level here and bounce, then we open up the potential for an invert for a head and shoulders, right? Like so. I always forget all the drawings that I have on. Right, so potentially we'll be looking at a head and shoulders like this. Okay, if we come down, test it, bounce for a lower high, then we'll open up that potential head and shoulders. And you can see that we're pulling away from this prior channel of support. Okay, so I was gonna say it's a bit of a point in favor of the bears, but considering how we're holding above these highs, it's not really that bad of a look for bulls either. Bulls are continuing to play defense off of these prior highs. You know, whether or not that holds, I have no idea, but it's a good look for now, for the short term at least. So, and you know, all these bear breaks with minimal follow through, also a decent look for bulls. Just something to be mindful of. We are still looking for that weekly higher low. Let's check the hourly trend. So the hourly is likely to set a lower high tomorrow, right? Because this is quite a lot of range on this bearish activity, and the bounce today did not quite get, you know, we're over these lows, right? So that's good, but it's not a terribly impressive bounce by any means. It looks like it's about a 50% retrace. A little bit beyond 50. So we'll be scouting that lower high tomorrow, hourly lower high against this resistance level of 59.12. So we'll be looking for something like that. Ideally, we'll get 5-minute overbought condition. So something like that. Looking for that lower high. And this is already enough bounce that you would anticipate an hourly higher low. So, you know, if you were to look short here, I would definitely look to take profit in, you know, as we come down and test these supports around 56. Okay. So that being said, would I play an hourly oversold bounce down here? I would play that. I like that down there as well because we are still looking for a daily pivot. So if we were to get a lower high, well, that's not really on the table right now unless we get a very weak open. This trade's not really on the table unless we get a weak open. And if we get a nice big bounce follow through, if the bulls are able to see some more hourly bounce follow through, then bulls can be looking for an hourly higher low play as well, with anything over 54.37 being one. Okay. Yeah. I don't know. All things considered, I just don't really anticipate this level to hold. Very choppy, this volume here. Would not be surprised if we came down, test these highs. And just put in some volume here, right? We know hourly would get oversold over there, so yeah, support around 48 bucks right here. Workhorse. So let's see, bullish day today. Check the it's making an attempt at this like monthly bull flag structure, right? I don't know if I would call it it's weird, you know, it's kind of a weird structure, but whatever the case may be, it's healthy consolidation on the monthly time frame, and now a blue sky bull trying to see more follow through on the monthly time frame. The weekly chart has not seen a higher low since 1972. No real, I'm sorry, excuse me, since 2229 was the last weekly higher low. And if we were to come back down and look for a higher low, you know, into this zone where all these lines are, I'd be interested in that. On the daily time frame, you can see it already got a nice test. The daily time frame has yet to pull back to look for a daily higher low. When we do start pulling back, we'll be looking for a higher low, with anything over 2229 being one. And of course, the back test of these levels would be interesting, but we are not yet scouting that daily higher low because the hourly trend is still bullish. It's healthy, it's bullish, double top at all-time high. This is so much space for an hourly higher low over 33.64. So if we can get 5-minute oversold conditions, looking for that hourly higher low, I think that's a reasonable place to be looking for a trade. Okay, so somewhere there, 5-minute oversold conditions, looking for an hourly higher low somewhere here. Okay, so you can see you would have this right here and all this price action structure to offer you some support if you like fibs, and maybe you'll have it set up just like that. All right, so 5-minute oversold conditions, looking for an hourly higher low. That's pretty much it. But that being said, this could be a big EQ, you know, so if you do come down and you play this bounce, definitely take some profit, right? Because there's no promises of higher highs right away, and I wouldn't be surprised if we were to come down and do something like this, right, and just go sideways for a bit. I don't know. You never know, but what you can bank on is the likelihood of some relief bounce if we come back, get 5-minute oversold, and are looking for an hourly higher low. Okay? XPEV. All right, XPEV. Look, with this much range, and a monthly inside bar is very likely. Get that out of the way right now. Weekly time frame is looking like an EQ. This weekly lower high is looking pretty set. Here, lower high at 60.04. And now we are looking for a higher low over 37.50. Now on the daily time frame, the trend is questionable. It's not yet confirmed bearish. However, this is enough pullback that bears are scouting for a daily lower high under 60.04. So if the bears are able to defend this high of 60.04 and punch it through this level, this support level 47.05, then we will continue to look for that weekly, or rather, then we will continue to look for that weekly higher low, with anything over 37.50 being one, right? Okay, so let's check out the hourly time frame. The hourly trend is just sideways. We do not yet have a confirmed bull trend, but if bulls can show up tomorrow, defend this low of 47.05, break the higher highs over 51.34, they'll have changed that hourly trend and have bears scouting for that daily lower high, with anything under 60.04 again being one. So I kind of prefer that daily lower high trade, honestly, and you know, we are also looking for the potential of like a bit of a head and shoulders look here. If we were to come up and set a lower high under this 60.04 level, then it opens up that head and shoulders look, and maybe we'll come back down and test the these supports here, right, where these price action supports of old. All right. So whenever we're range bound, it's the potential of EQ. Whenever we're doing that, we want to be top fish in the EQ range and bottom fish in the EQ range. That's really the only traits that I like for the most part. Okay, plug. Monthly chart is in beast mode. Jeez. Opening up near the highs of the previous candle's range. Weekly is a potential bull flag. Daily chart, very healthy sideways action. We're range bound, so again, we're just looking to play the range. If we can get hourly oversold down here, I would like that for some daily, to look for a potential daily pivot. If we can get hourly overbought up here, I don't love that, honestly. I don't really want to short these names that are like, going. You can find another person to pick on, another ticker to pick on if you're looking short. Now that being said, if you're like hedging positions and selling options against your longs, okay, that's fine, right? I think that's a fine thing, especially if we can get extension, right? So hourly overbought or hourly oversold into support or hourly overbought into resistance are the only plays that I like whenever we are range bound. All right, so let's see. This is now 5 days of pullback, 4 days of pullback. Hourly trend's probably bearish, but not by much. Very choppy. That's I mean, there's not much else to say. We're range bound and plug, right? So if the bulls take we're still looking for a weekly higher low. Technically, anything over 30-40 will be a weekly higher low. It's not even that substantial of a higher low over here. This one, it's not terribly meaningful. Really, the last meaningful higher low, in my opinion, was all the way back here at 1369. So anything over that I would consider to be a higher low on the weekly time frame. So yeah, overall plug looking very healthy, just range bound. And if this is going to be a bull flag, a weekly bull flag, then we would anticipate bear breaks with very minimal follow through. Okay, so don't bottom fish this level here of 57.32 and put a stop at 57.31 right below it. Right, we would anticipate breaks with minimal follow through. So it can be a little bit tricky, but as long as you're entering on extension, theoretically there should be some relief bounce in order for you to chop up your position for some partial and protect the rest. If the bulls are able to show up tomorrow, defend this low of 60.77, break to higher highs over 65.70, they'll have changed that hourly trend, set that daily low, and have bulls looking up at the zone of resistance up top. Okay, near the 75 level, pretty much mid 75. And ZAIR. All right, ZAIR coming back into our zone of interest. So normally I don't suggest leaving these levels the same. If price comes into your zone of interest and then leaves it, I don't suggest leaving these levels exactly the same. I do suggest, however, rearranging it a bit so that again your fills come in when the hourly becomes oversold. So it did not happen here, and so I would not have looked for another position here. So if you played the bounce and you got stopped out for the rest of the position that you kept on, I mean, whatever. It's whatever. You still had half a trade that was a banger, right? Like a 12% or geez, or like a 20. Man, why didn't I trade this? Like a 20% bounce trade on half of that position or whatever, however much you got. I don't know. I just, could this trade have worked here? It could have, but I don't love it for the daily play. Now for an hourly balance play, fine, because this was likely 5-minute oversold, and you're essentially bottom fishing this double bottom, this hourly double bottom, and I do think the 5-minute may have been oversold. Looking at that chart, it was. Okay, so it's an issue of context, right? And again, also you have to consider this is a very low volume name, so if you were trading it, I don't even know if you would want to make those plays on the 5-minute because the volume is kind of sketchy. Okay. So that being said, if you didn't get stopped out, what are you looking for now? You're just looking for that daily lower high, right? The odds of a daily lower high under 87 cents are very good. Bulls continue to play defense against these previous tops. If you got stopped out and you're looking to re-enter, gosh, I guess I would wait for an hourly higher low at this point, right? I would wait for some hourly move to the upside and then try to position for a higher low like over here, even though it didn't stick. All right, so right now, I don't really love any longs in this name as of right now. All right. That about covers it. Thanks for tuning in, and I will see you all soon.